are, of course, the Royal Horse Artillery. And they've brought some 6-pounder guns. Of course, this regiment is still going today. They're also the experimental artillery, and occasionally they will use rockets. Hailed rockets, early rockets that were quite advanced, that actually had spinning parted to them. Now it looks like we've got some soldiers on the field. The gentleman leading, it looks like he's a Brunswicker. Now the Brunswickers had a very flashy uniform, but when their commander-in-chief, they were Prussians, died, they actually dyed all of their uniforms black and had horsehair uniforms. So the gentleman actually circling the French now is in fact a Brunswicker, and you can see that his uniform is almost all black, and it has a skull on the front, and this is the uniform that the Brunswick adopted. The French army there forming square. It's a small square, but it's a square. Now square is important because what square does is it means that if your man at the stood up holds his bayonet out to arm's length, the horse can't get in. The man who is kneeling down in front can then shoot almost upwards at the horseman, take him off the horse, and the horseman is incapable of doing anything about the infantry. This is the very tactic that Wellington used and Napoleon at Waterloo to actually negate the French tactic. Now, on saying that, they haven't moved from square back to line of battle very effectively, so what's happened is the British soldiers have been able to close on them after that cavalry attack, and they're off. They're leaving the field, and of course they're taking their eagle with them. They don't want to get that captured. So it looks like the entire French left flank is about to collapse. While that's going on, of course, here on the centre, our 2nd Regiment, the 21st, is very much still live and kicking. But you may notice that they've been closed down by the riflemen now, and of course they're being kept in position there by the ever-present threat of the cavalry, who are now circling. They've got riflemen on 2 sides, and they're defending their artillery piece, but there's now some more artillery being brought up. Now, let me tell you about this artillery, because this one's good fun. This is the Recherche Legion, and oddly, they're British funded, and yet they're wearing Russian uniforms, but their nationality is Prussian. So you remember I told you that literally the British bankrolled this war? Well, there you go, there's an example. Prussians wearing Russian uniforms paid for by the English. And they have these brass cannons, and they're 3-pounders, and they've brought them up real close. And under 400 yards, they may be using naval grape shot, which turns that into a very large and effective short-range shotgun, the equivalent to one cannon firing an infantry regiment's worth of shot at your infantry regiment in front of you. And as the left flank collapsed, the Welsh Guards are now retaking formation, but our French are in deep trouble. They're literally now fighting an enemy on 2 sides, and it might just become 3.
4 people are down.
The sappers on the right, the engineers on the right with the red epaulets on their shoulders, as we talked about them earlier, and the standard line infantry on the left, just between the pioneers and the artillery. The British are preparing to fire a volley. Most of the time, the trick of this was to walk up to your enemy nice and calm and fire a volley and hopefully take out more of him than there was, and effectively by doing so, if you could take out more of him than he could take out of you, you'd win the battle. And if you got yourself into a line of fire nice and early doors, you could effectively take out him before he got to fire at you. And there's the volley. And it looks like our French left wing has reformed, but the British were waiting for them. The riflemen were coming into support, and they weren't needed actually. They weren't needed because the line infantry got that one covered.
Back.
Yeah.
Captain Myers is in charge of the French troops on the field. You see Napoleon's left, and he's just trying to organise what's left, even though it's looking now very much like this is going to be the end of the battle. He's outnumbered on all sides, and he has as a rifleman closing in from two sides, and he's faced front on with a group of British Redcoats. Again, another volley coming in. General Haynes coming forward to inspect the fallen flank to see what he can do. You see him there with the very, very large hat on. He dispatches his staff officer to go and find out, because he's a general, he doesn't have to find these things out himself, especially when he's got a lesser member of staff to do that for him. And meanwhile, as they close in, our cavalry are now harassing. Now into play comes some more Prussians. We can see there some gentlemen with caps on. They don't look as fancy as the rest of our infantry here. They are the Landwehr. They are in fact a Prussian militia unit that was formed, and they become regular army. They are wearing white trousers and these blue coats with these yellow flashings on, and these flat hats. But they were equipped with whatever they could get, whichever side they were at the time, and whenever it was. So they have a mix of French and British rifles and some of the Prussian ones, and essentially a lot of their swords are not swords but axes. A lot of their water bottles are not Hessian wrapped bottles, so they literally are a scratch division.
Bad.
But they originally became a militia. I don't think this Frenchman here really is going to stand an awful lot of chance here. He's faced with a... Oh no! And you can see the end of the battle is in sight here. The Redcoats piling in, and yeah, the drummers make it. No, the drummers going to surrender. The sergeant there crying reform. Often, a lot of the times, and it happens in later battles and earlier battles as well, is if it gets too out of hand and people get a little bit too crazy, if the enemy reforms anywhere, they can attack you while you're not in formation. So the sergeant immediately calls the formations back into formation to keep his men together, to keep control. And the day today is clearly won by our army of Redcoats, supported by the Rifles. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for the British Redcoats, the Rifles, the Landwehr, our Prussian allies, the Brunswicker wherever he's gone on his horse, there he is, and of course our victorious engineer of the battle, General Haynes, in person today on the battlefield.
Woohoo! That was awesome.
And we will call back our French.
I'm not being
sarcastic. Ladies and gentlemen of the battlefield, would you please rise? And can we have a round of applause for all of the people today, our French army of Napoleon.
Yay!
Oh, the general has requested me.
What's happening?
General Haynes, because of his absolutely fantastic victory today, would like to finish today's display with a march past for you to see the regiments that have taken part and all these splendid uniforms. In reenactor worlds, these are among the most expensive uniforms in real terms because of the sheer craftsmanship that goes into them. And bearing in mind that each of these people here maintains their own uniform, they're not subsidised for this, maintains their own uniform and accoutrements. So effectively, these people here are paid for everything. All of these are volunteers, all of them do this out of love for the hobby, and all of them come here and practice in their own time. And each of these units actually spends at least 2 fortnights a year having a practice session just to warm up. Just out of interest, a little piece of interest there, you'll notice that the regiment leaving as the Welsh Guards, the sergeant doesn't carry a rifle, he carries this pike. This is not unusual, and this pike is simply for him to keep a line of men straight. So he actually is... What's going on here, by the way? I will just cut to the cannon. You may notice we have a joke among reenactors. This is called whaling, because of course when you put water down the barrel of a gun, what happens is you want to flush out the gunpowder and get rid of all the debris that's there. They're going to clean the gun. But of course, when you ram the rammer down, it becomes a piston, and the water escapes through the touch hole in a very, very long forward stream. You saw it there squirting out the top of the gun. They'll need to repeat this several times to clear the gun. This is done, A, to keep the corrosive mixture that was in there from fouling the barrel and deteriorating it, and also it's done to make sure that that weapon is absolutely empty and safe and clear to leave the field. They're putting it back into its configuration here. You can see that it fits on an extra trundle like this, which will then lock down, and you can see the long bar in the front. This would then be attached to a small team of horses. The ammunition goes there, you can see that. So effectively, this gun, its crew, and a limited amount of ammunition are effectively self-contained.
Oh, that was good.
Ladies and gentlemen, for that fantastic demonstration, we have a round of applause for our French artillery. And you can see their artillery, by the way, because they have these wonderful bags which have cannons on them. And they have lead-weighted flaps, and this is actually deliberate, because it means if you let go of the bag for any reason, it closes. And this is because it's quite often full of gunpowder. And if you're playing in an area with lots of sparks and things, you want to keep the leather bag very closed at all times. So those bags, and you'll see this is true of most of our black powder users, those bags are closed at all times, because they're only ever open when you deliberately open them and reach them inside. So even then, back in the 1810, health and safety was actually a consideration. So the French army is forming up to give us the grand parade of the Napoleonic Army, and we'll tell you a little about the regiments as we go through of what I've been told. You can hear there the tinkling of bayonets, that's them fitting bayonets. I mentioned earlier the bayonets, and people often ask, why were the bayonets so big? Well, it only takes 3" of bayonet to kill a man, which is why a modern bayonet is 3". Why a Second World War bayonet mainly is 3". But a First World War bayonet is often 14". And there should be the clue as to why the bayonets are so long. And they were so long in this as well. You see, it takes 3" to kill a man, but it takes 12" to kill a horse. So when your horse is a battlefield implement, then of course your bayonet needs to be very long. So right until the First World War, the horse was definitely still considered a viable instrument of war. After the First World War, it stops being so, and the bayonets all shrink to 3". And here they come.
Shut up.
Emperor Napoleon leading the army of the French Republic. He's in front of the 21st, the guys who went all the way through Russia, and he's leading the 1st Regiment. They have their eagle presented to him. Behind them, of course, is the 45th, and Captain Miles is leading the 45th. At the end of the column, as we mentioned earlier, is our sappers, the guys who would lead us on to modern field engineering. In case I didn't mention this, they're all armed with these wonderful shiny Charleville muskets, 69 caliber smoothbore musket. The French had worried about the accuracy of guns and the effect of windage, which is where the ball spins like a planet and goes left and right. And to reduce this problem, they'd actually reduced the calibre down to 69 calibre from the 75 the British were using. It did alleviate the problem a little bit, but it didn't solve it. But of course, the Charleville musket will be famous for other things. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, singing as they go, the French Army of the Republic of Napoleon. A magnanimous in victory today, of course, General Haynes, who has brought his field staff with him. And he leads the drummers. Now he's brought all of his drummers together. Interestingly, you'll notice that one of his drummers has a uniform that is absolutely the reverse colours of what you think it should be. And this is because drummers quite often did used to wear this. However, as rifle technology got better, they made them aware that this made them an obvious target for sharpshooters, so normally they reverted to standard infantry colours. I mentioned the 95th Rifles. The 95th Rifles are coming up behind the 60th Rifles. The 60th Rifles are the ones with the red collars on, and they of course have the 65 caliber Baker muskets, Baker rifles, sorry. And they're followed by the 41st, the 32nd, the 2nd, and the Coldstream Guards under General Ewell.
Here come the horses.
The 23rd Royal Welsh Fusiliers now coming into view, led by General Wagg, and they have the white trousers on, of course, and you'll see with them the drummers are dressed in a very similar fashion to the rest of the corps, so as not to mark them out. And the other two brigades of the 95th Rifles coming up behind. The Royal Horse Artillery, we mentioned them earlier in our display with their big plumes, and of course they're still about today. The Royal Horse Artillery with their cavalry sabres, you can see that they have that because they would have been mounted, of course, so they would have had the same accoutrements as mounted. And again, you can see these big leather flaps on their bags for the safety arrangements. And they're bringing their 6-pounder guns along with them. And here we get to the interesting part of the rest of the coalition, the Landwehr. And as they pass us, you can see the mix of muskets that we mentioned earlier, the mix of accoutrements, and the fact that some of them are carrying axes instead of swords, and wearing a variety of gear, whatever they could get hold of. And this is the one I can never pronounce, but this is the one that's interesting in the fact that they are the Russian Durchlegion, and they are, of course, as we mentioned earlier, in Russian uniforms, but they're in fact Prussians, but they're financed by the English. And of course our Brunswick are there, and the rest of our cavalry. Just to let you know, by the way, that unlike all the rest of reenactors, who can literally turn up for a training weekend and do a couple of training weekends before the season starts, a little bit of self-discipline and we're away, cavalrymen have to work all year round, because horses need to be trained to work with guns, bangs, explosions, people shouting, noisy narrators, the whole lot. So they have to be trained all year round. So the cavalrymen never stop. So in fact the cavalrymen have one of the most difficult jobs on the field today. And ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for the Army of Napoleon? Let's go see what's on the agenda next, and then we'll see what's happening in the other arenas.